Well, welcome back, guys, to the Spurgeon Piper. This is Wilson with you. Today I'm really happy to get back into an interview on in the pipe world and on the pipe hobby itself. And I had in mind one individual that I've been following for a while, if you know how Instagram works, and especially with you do searches, it offers recommendations and things like that of those up your alley, of your interests. And one that always came up was Smokin Barrel Briars, and the pipes he would have on display are eye-catching. And so I wanted to have him on to talk about pipe making and some other pipe related topics that are maybe deeper in discussion. So today we do have on Ryan with Smokin Barrel Briars. Ryan, man, thanks for jumping on this morning.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So for those who may not know you, and you're one of those Instagram posters who you don't have your face up all the time, and so for a lot, it may be this may be the first time they've seen you in person. Maybe they don't know your background. So just to start us off, what do you do mainly for your line of work?
I'm in commercial signs and lighting. I do like LED conversions for car dealerships. I'll do some channel letter signs here and there, pylon signs, window graphics. I mean, just pretty much anything when it comes to advertising your business, I can handle it. But as far as Instagram goes, I've never really been a big selfie poster, even on my personal Facebook or anything like that. I kind of wanted that Instagram to be more about the pipes and, my other hobbies and that kind of thing, pipes and tobacco, and nobody needs to see my mug, so I just try to keep it all about the pipes and tobacco on that one.
Yeah, there you go. And you're based in Texas?
Yes, sir. I am.
How long?
Go ahead. Oh, born and raised.
Awesome. There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. Well, just outside the Fort Worth area, if people know where that is. I know I was talking with you and you're in Waco, but
yes, I didn't realize we were both in Texas. So there you go.
Yeah, just a few hours away.
I know it. That's very cool. Awesome. Well, that's good to know. So onto pipe smoking, you and the hobby itself. I'm going to assume you weren't raised around it. Maybe you were, but how'd you get into pipe smoking in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't raised around it. I know my grandpa smoked a pipe on and off, a couple times. Like I had found some old, I think they were 7-ounce metal tins of Captain Black, and they had the little metal key that you had to pop the top off. And I never knew that he had smoked a pipe till after he passed, and I found those. And I was kind of, nice. That was kind of crazy to me, but I've always been kind of just intrigued by it. So I used to spend summers with my grandma, and her neighbor, George, we used to call him Mr. George. I could always tell when he was outside because that smoke would just come over the fence, and it was like just the best thing I've ever smelled. And I could always tell when he was outside smoking his pipe. So I always affiliated pipe smoking with, fond memories. And so I wasn't really raised around it, but I was always intrigued by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the same with me. I think I've shared it before, but I really didn't have anyone while I was alive smoking a pipe. There were some others, but the idea was always lingering in the background. And it's funny going back to like children's books or older movies, even Disney movies, and seeing the pipe, someone smoking a pipe. You never thought of it at the time, but now going back with my kids, I'm like, hey, they're smoking a pipe.
There's pipes everywhere that you never even realized. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess that influence was always in the background. So how long have you been in the hobby? Like what was the thing that really made you jump into it?
So I remember the day I turned 18, I went to the Parks Mall in Arlington, and there was a shop inside there, which I don't think it exists anymore, but it was called Tobacco Lane. And that shop still exists, but just not in the Parks Mall anymore. It's in the Highlands now. Gotcha. But I went into that store, and I just bought like a little basket pipe. It was stamped Italy. I mean, there was nothing to it, and a bag of something sweet. I don't even remember what it was. And I tried it. I took it home and I tried it out. And I was just actually on the Virtual Pipe Club the other day telling this story. And I took it home. and I lit it up, and I didn't dry it out, you know, so that's my first mistake. My second was it was a heavily topped aromatic, so it was super goopy, you know, and it smoked so hot. I mean, it smelled good, but I just scorched my tongue. And I go, I don't know if this is for me. So I just stuck it in the closet, and I forgot about it for probably 6 months, 8 months. And then I found it. I pulled it out again. I said, I'm going to give this another try. And I think by that time it had dried out too much, you know, and so it was just turned into powder, just dust. And it smoked way too fast and way too hot. And so I said, you know what, this isn't for me. And I put it away, and I forgot about it for years. And I guess it was probably a few years ago, I came across it again, and I go, all right, I'm going to give this one more shot. And so I went out to, you know, a local tobacconist, and I had bought a couple blends from him. And I came home and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. You know, I had talked to a few people. I was like, look, if I'm going to give this a shot, I want to try to do it right.
Yeah.
And it was just like the key fit. You know, I figured it out finally. And I just think when I was young, I was just trying to go too fast, too hard. And now that I have a chance to kind of sit back and relax a little bit, not try to rush everything, then I finally figured it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Most seem to have the same experience. And same issues. We smoke too fast, too hard. We pick a goopy, smell good, aromatic, and because it makes sense, it would sound like that would be the way to go. But it seems like we learn the hard way typically.
Yeah, unfortunately, you get those really heavily topped, goopy aromatics, and it might smell great to everybody around, but it tastes nothing like what's in that bag.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you got into the pipe hobby or pipe tobacco hobby, and got into smoking and enjoying that. And then at some point you came to mind to start making.
Yeah, that just kind of came slowly. So I started smoking a pipe, and I was really enjoying it. And I said, well, you know, I only have this one pipe, you know, and so I bought a corn cob, and I was like, oh, this is cool too. But, you know, I want to explore my options with other pipes. And so I started going on eBay, and I started buying estate pipes, you know, and I started talking with local tobacconists, buying those, you know, those secondhand pipes, all that kind of stuff. And I noticed that a lot of them were in bad shape. You know, they had a ton of cake in them. They just weren't taken care of. The ebonite, or sometimes in the older pipes, the vulcanite was super oxidized, you know, and all this. And I started thinking, well, I think I want to try to restore these and bring them back to life. And so I don't know if you're familiar with Bear Pipe on YouTube.
Sure.
I started watching a lot of his videos, and I started restoring a lot of estate pipes, just mainly for myself.
Yeah.
And you know, and I would chat with a few guys that I was in Facebook groups with, so they knew I was doing it, and so they started sending me their pipes to restore. And it just kind of was steady with just restorations for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I became comfortable working with the materials, you know, ebonite, acrylic, briar, you know, what the components of a pipe.
Right.
I started getting comfortable with staining and buffing and polishing and all that. And I don't know, it's probably a year after restorations, I thought, you know, I could probably make one of these. And I just started buying equipment. I started buying machinery and putting it out in my shop. And you know, looking back at it now, I don't know if I should have jumped head first like I did and just start buying everything, lathes and bandsaws and bench grinders and everything else. I probably should have messaged, you know, another Texas pipe maker and asked if I could come hang out with them and, you know, maybe learn the craft, see if it was something that I actually wanted to do instead of just going out and spending thousands to build a shop from scratch. But you know, I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it seems like it worked out nonetheless.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One thing that just came to mind, a question that came to mind, that equipment you bought, can some of it be used to do other things? I mean, is it very specifically to pipes?
Not really. I mean, some of it is specific to pipes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can obviously, I have a few different sizes of belt sanders, and you can use those for other projects. Sure. A bandsaw you can use for anything.
Right.
A lathe, you can turn down almost anything on a lathe. But the way I have my lathe set up, I have very specific, like I have specific chucks and I have specific jaws, you know, that are made for grip and briar, you know, like a chunk of briar or a rod of ebonite or whatever you're going to use.
Right. Gotcha.
And so a lot of the hand tools that I use are specifically made for pipes, but as far as the machinery goes, I mean, you could pretty much do anything with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense. So now that you've been in for a while, how many years has it been with pipe making?
It's just over a year. I think I'm at like 14 months now. Yeah.
All right. Good
So
deal.
it's still pretty new.
All right. So with 14-ish months or so in, what has surprised you? And I guess we can include your time of restoration as well in that. What has surprised you about the craft? You didn't really expect going in, or what was something that stands out? And you and I kind of, you brought, before we started recording, you did mention something you weren't expecting to some extent as far as the demand. But so along with that, what are some other things that
honestly, I really just got into it because I wanted it to be a hobby, something I did in my off time, something that I could still spend time at home. I could put my time, energy into just for fun. And I honestly, I didn't expect for it to take off the way it did, because it is kind of one of those weird things. It's like when you tell people, like, what do you like to do? And you're like, oh, I make pipes. And they just go, people outside the pipe making world or people that aren't pipe smokers or anything like that. They're like, pipes? Like, what do you mean? Like a grandpa pipe? I get this all the time. Like a grandpa pipe? I go, yeah, like a basically grandpa pipe. Yeah. And I feel like that's the best way to describe it to people, because they don't understand if you're not in the hobby.
Right.
So it's just, I feel like it's one of those really obscure things that not everyone is into. And when I break it out in public or anything like that, people come up to me, oh my God, that smells so good. That reminds me of my grandpa, or that reminds me of my dad, or, my great grandpa used to smoke a pipe, and it always sparks up conversations. And so it's weird to see how many people relate to such an obscure thing.
Yeah. I absolutely. Same with you. When I'm speaking with those who are not part of the hobby, they don't smoke, they haven't smoked a pipe at least, and they haven't been around it. Usually the conversation goes, man, I remember my uncle, my grandpa smoking a pipe. I still, or if they'll smell it, it's like, oh man, that brings back memories. So even if they don't have any relation to the hobby, they can kind of relate with you because of history. And
right, it takes them right back to where they were. If they were a kid and they smelled it like me, if they smelled it from the neighbor. And I finally figured it out. He always smoked BCA, Lane's BCA.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got deeper in the hobby and I started smoking, and I was just like, this smells like George.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's like that, every time they smell that, it just takes them right back.
Yeah, definitely. So demand has surprised you.
Yeah.
And that would have surprised me too. We look online, and this is going to get into another, probably our final topic, but a next one. You look at what's available online, and there's just a huge amount of pipes and tobacco options. And I just think, and then I go on Instagram and I look at the awesome pipe makers and artisans, not only on Instagram, but there's some around Texas that go to pipe shows that I visit. And I think surely this can't sustain, like surely there's enough supply and not enough demand. But you're mentioning something out here, others say there's a lot of demand, like I can't really keep up. And that's always been the surprising thing for me, is hearing about that.
Yeah, that's that's where it is. I mean, for the majority of the time that I've spent restoring pipes and pipe making, it's like I've been doing so much stuff for everybody else. You'd be surprised. I get probably 5 or 6 messages a week that are just people saying, hey, where can I see your pipes? Like, do you have a website where they're available? Do you have an Etsy store? Do you have a storefront? Anything like that. And with the amount of commissions that I do, I just stay buried up in commission work, basically. And that's kind of a blessing and a curse, because I get to make pipes is something that I enjoy, and I get to make meaningful pieces of art to people. If they tell me, oh, this is for like I just did another one for this guy Jacob Lovin. He's like, he contacted me to have his first one made, because he was graduating med school, and so I get people like, hey, this is a wedding gift, or this is my husband's birthday. I want to have something made for him. And so I get to make these meaningful pieces of art for people. And, so, that means a lot to me. And I like that. But at the same time, I'm not getting to make a lot of the stuff that I really want to make, the stuff that is just kind of out there. And so I try to sneak those in between commissions, just kind of freestyle it, just make what I want to make.
Yeah, sure.
And so, as far as that goes, I like I said, I didn't expect for the demand to be this high, and it's crazy. I mean, there's probably 10 people a week that message me for something.
Yeah.
And that's not tooting my horn or anything. That's just, that's going back for, what your original question was.
Yeah.
And I never thought it would be like this. I thought it would just be something that I piddled with every now and then. And if I made something cool, I'd send it to a buddy as a gift or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm grateful for Peterson and Savinelli, Ashton's, Rat Raid. I'm grateful for the larger producers, especially Peterson and Savinelli. And there's definitely a need in a market for them. But I've noticed over time, like my collection is slowly shifting. And I've mentioned this before, no good reason other than, I don't know if it's OCD. I keep my collection to about 14 regularly smoked pipes. I don't know why. I just need to limit myself. But so with this collection I have, I notice that slowly the ratio of, I guess we can call them mass-produced pipes or
factory pipes.
Yeah, factory pipes. I've noticed that ratio is shifting slowly more towards custom artisan pipes over factory pipes. And again, nothing against Peterson or Savinelli, what have you, but I like the personal touch, the personal connection of the artisan pipes from guys like you that go into these pipes. And not to mention, they kind of break the mold, if you will, of distinct looks and colors and shapes and things like that. And so I think slowly, as people get more into pipe smoking, that seems to be the change I've noticed. The more you smoke, the more you kind of look for the pipe artisans and their craft. So
no, I agree. And not, at the end of the day, it's pipe smoking.
Yeah.
It's not really super complicated, and you shouldn't make it super complicated. And if you enjoy your factory pipes, there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I will tell you, once you start getting into the world of artisan pipes, you'll notice it's a night and day difference.
There is.
That's I think that's because an artisan is going to slow down. It's going to take his time or her time, whoever's making the pipe, when they're drilling it, when they're shaping it, when they're doing your stem work. It's going to be funneled. You're going to have a nice, open, easy draft hole. And I think with the properly made stem, you're going to be able to detect these subtle, nuanced flavors and notes of your tobacco that you weren't able to pick up before with the factory pipe. You're not going to run into problems like holding moisture and gurgling and, not being able to pass a pipe cleaner, the typical things that you see with a factory pipe. And like I said, this is not downing anybody that enjoys factory pipes or anything like that. But once you start getting into higher end pipes, artisan pipes specifically, I mean, because there are high end factory pipes that you still run into those issues with.
Yep.
I mean, they're less likely to happen in your high end factory pipes, but you'd be surprised, man. I've had people send me Dunhills and Castellos and everything else, and they go, "Why is this pipe gurgling?" And then I'll have to fix it for them. And that's the key with factory pipes is they're trying to pump them out as fast as they can to make the money, right? So they're not really putting a lot of heart and soul into this pipe to try to make it specifically for one person to enjoy and making sure that everything is precise about it. They're just trying to pump them out as fast as they can so they can get them on a shelf. Yeah. I mean, and that's business,
Right.
And so as far as artisan pipes go, I feel like the people who just want that little bit extra, that's who's going to spring for an artisan pipe. And then they're going to appreciate it. Like you said, once you started getting into it, you go, whoa, this is completely different from everything I've had before. And I think I want to start getting deeper and deeper into this.
Yeah. Agree. And that kind of gets into the other topic that I wanted to shift into. With more products available, like we have more pipe makers and artisans, not to mention there's an influx of the amount of pipes made by the bigger manufacturers. Definitely a lot more tobacco than any time in history.
Big time.
Big time. I mean, we could just pick on Cornell and Diehl alone, and that can be proven. So with those options, are we better off in the hobby than we were before? And I think overall that is a yes, but where let's do it this way. Where are we better off in that regard, and where maybe have we lost some or we've had some drawbacks?
So like I was saying before, I feel like, at the end of the day, this is pipe smoking, and there's no reason to complicate it as far as we have. It should just be something that you enjoy, at the end of the day or throughout the day, whatever you want to do. And I feel like we've got to that point where we have overcomplicated things, because I just know in my personal experience, I have probably close to 300 blends that are open right now, just in jars. I mean, I have a huge cellar downstairs, and there's just, I have the crates mounted to the wall, and I just have jars and jars and jars. And then if you look in every little nook and cranny, you'll find open jars of this and open jars of that. And these are tins that I've popped, and I may have smoked 3 or 4 bowls out of it, and then I put the jar away and I forget about it. And then I open another tin, and just because I want to see what's out there. And it's like, I want to try to top the best one. I smoke one and I'll go, oh man, this is amazing. And so I'll smoke that one for a week, and then I go, well, what is this about? And I'll open that one, and it just goes and goes and goes. And I feel like we've overcomplicated things. It's not how it used to be. How it used to be was you had a handful of factory pipes, K Woodies and Dr. Graybos and custom builds, or whatever you want, whatever they were. And then you had a handful of Burley based blends, your half and half, and your Velvet and Granger and Carter Hall and Prince Albert, and so it's just like, it was simple. It was there for you. Now I feel like with all these different manufacturers and all these different blends, it's like going to a restaurant with a 30-page menu. You're just going through it, trying to figure out what you want. Oh, that sounds good. You flip the page. Oh no, that sounds better. And so you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And it's hard to kind of figure it out. People go, well, what's your favorite one? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea. I'll smoke 2 or 3 different blends a day. So to have it narrowed down into one, I could never do that. I don't even know if I could give you a top 5 or a top 10 list. Just because there's so much stuff out there, it's overwhelming almost.
It is. And your taste changes. And I could put out, I don't know if I did or not, I could put out a top 10 last year, and this year it'll
be completely different.
Right. Because you try new things, maybe your taste has changed. But yeah, we have made it complex, and I enjoy the amount of tobacco we have. I mean, that's really cool to try these different blends. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy that. It is a benefit that we have. There's great benefit of having the amount of pipe makers, and it's obviously showing that the hobby is increasing, or has as a recent, and that's a blessing itself for ourselves, because the rising tide raises all ships, as they say. And so we receive the benefit, and guys like you receive the benefit of more people getting into the hobby. So that's great. I love that. But on your point, I think we've lost the simplicity of it.
100%.
I think there's something special of like your grandparents, grandpa, uncle. They just had maybe 1 or 2 pipes, and they just smoked the same blend while they were working in the garden, on their vehicle, sitting down to read or what have you. And there's a simplicity there that is a little lost.
That's something else. Is I get a question all the time, and they go, how long should I rest my pipes? And I go, how many pipes did your grandpa own? Yep. He had 2. If he was lucky, he had 2 pipes, maybe 3, right? And he smoked the tar out of them all the time. Okay. Yeah. You never saw that pipe rested. You saw him knock out the dottle, load another bowl, and keep on trucking. And I think that's something that comes up in conversation all the time. And I don't really feel like there's a need to rest your pipes. I feel like if you keep it clean, I mean, it's a briar. It's not going to burn through. If it's a well-made pipe, it's not going to burn through.
Yeah.
Just keep on going. And I think that was something else that was kind of made up by a lot of the factory pipes to push out more. Is, oh, you need
Makes
a 7-day
sense.
set. You got to have at least 7 so you can give them a rest.
Yeah.
And I mean, the pipes that I've made for myself, man, I smoke them every day. I'll smoke at least a bowl or 2 out of them every single day, and they've never given me any problems.
Sure.
And it's the same for our grandparents or our parents or whoever smoked the pipe. They didn't have as many. So like you said, the simplicity of it is gone. But at the same time, that is a blessing because, like you said, we're getting to see cooler pipe shapes and different textures and different finishes and different colors. And then as far as the blends go, we're seeing stuff that has never been before. If you were to sit down with your grandpa or your great grandpa or whatever, and you would show him the blends that are readily available today, it would probably just blow their mind. Yeah, some of them are the same basic components, your Virginias, your Burleys, your Turkish, Latakia, stuff like that. But it's in different amounts. They have different casings, different toppings. Like everything is so much different from what it used to be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do think that is a blessing. We get to try different stuff. I might love something that you hate and vice versa,
Yeah, indeed.
We're not just stuck with a handful of blends. If you don't like them, it is what it is.
Absolutely. And that I do love. And so for newer pipe smokers, I do encourage them to, man, really keep it simple. Just I mean, even if it's some corn cobs, just stick to some for a while, get used to the hobby and grab just a few well spoken of blends that aren't going to keep or put your mouth into a realm of fire and just enjoy it for a time and learn. You almost need to shut off, and this is coming from a guy on YouTube. You almost need to shut off YouTube and not read and just watching videos on how to smoke a pipe and then just kind of push everything away because my channel alone, I talk about different blends and pipe makers and all these options, and it can kind of be a paralysis by analysis. And you're like, oh, I got to get that, and that new blend's out, and smoking pipes, they have this.
Then the FOMO sets in.
Yes, I got to have it, and again, that just goes back to simplicity, and it's heavy consumerism, and I'm great. I know why they do it. Like you mentioned, it's business, and I get it. It's fine, but it can just mess with our enjoyment of the hobby.
Something that I always recommend to newer pipe smokers, and it's the same thing with pretty much all the Naps guys, is I'll tell them Amphora sells a sampler pack, right? And I say, buy the Amphora pack, smoke through every single one of those pouches.
Yeah.
Then you can determine which leaf you like best. And I wish I would have done that when I first started, because you got a Cavendish blend, you got a Burley blend, you got a Virginia, you got an English, and you have an aromatic. So whatever leaf you like best, whatever style you like best, go with that. Oh, there's a Kentucky in there too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And oddly enough, that's still one of my favorite blends. I smoke that Amphora Kentucky all the time.
Sure.
But that's something that I always recommend to new guys is buy this sampler pack. It's not high end top shelf tobacco, but it's going to allow you to figure out which style suits you, what you like best for the time being. And then you can explore different options within that, within that style.
Yeah, there you go, man. That is really good. Good advice. I like that a lot. Well, Ryan, where can people find out more about you, follow your stuff? If they're interested in getting a pipe from you, all that, where can they get more in contact with you?
I post the majority of my stuff on Instagram. It's at Smokin' Barrel Briars. Let me see if I can pull this up. I just had some new pipe socks done with the logo. So I don't know if you can see this.
Nice. Yes.
Smokin' Barrel Briars on Instagram.
Good. Very good.
I also post a lot. I have a group with some buddies of mine on Facebook. It's called New Age Pipe Smokers, Naps. We post a lot of stuff in there too.
Cool.
I don't post a whole lot on Facebook, and I don't really have a website. I mean, I don't know if I could keep up if I had a website and post it on Facebook. So I just try to limit it to Instagram. So if you have one, look me up, send, say, hey, let me know where you're coming from, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. And I'll leave links for those things in the show notes, guys. His Instagram, they're the New Age Piper Pipe Smokers YouTube channel, and definitely check him out there. And definitely look at his past pipes that he's made, and you'll be impressed and know why so many have begun to follow him and get pipes from him. Well, Ryan, man, thanks for jumping on. The topics, the conversation was good. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm glad we got to do this. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you bet. Well, until then, guys, we'll talk to you very soon. All right, let me end the recording.